you pay the price, we make it nice. Hey everybody, in the booth today. So what we're working with today is a C10. Let's see if we can get some paint laid down on it. So here's a little bit of the story on this truck if you'd like to know about it. Story we hear a lot and kind of sucks. This truck's been in a couple shops around town. He started out in a collision style shop, and I think a lot of us probably know how that story ends a lot of the time, unfortunately. So he paid some money up front. Nothing happened. So he pulls it from that shop, goes to another shop, pretty much the same thing. They actually did a little bit of work, but it was pretty bad work, and then still the same thing. Paid the money up front to do it, they didn't finish it. So he comes here to talk to us, and he sits down, and he's like, yeah man, the reason I didn't bring it to you is because you know, there was one bad thing I heard, and that's that you guys are expensive. Works great, but it's expensive. Well, at the end of the day, it's like, for what we do, I don't think we're expensive. I think we are very fair. I honestly should probably go up a little bit. With what he spent, he could have already done it here. So having to do it again, essentially, and that really sucks for him. We hate it. So we're trying to move things along as fast as we can on this truck. So we did our everything we would do on a normal body restoration. We did all the metal work, metal finishing work on the exterior of the body, any rust that may have been in the floor pan, stuff like that. There was some work they did that we just decided we had to leave in the floor pans to save him on some money. Then we, did a filler work, blocked it out, primed it, blocked it out, got it as straight as we could get it, went through the priming and blocking stages, all that good stuff. And then now we're in the booth. So we've got some sealer laid down this morning. It's been sitting for about 20 minutes, so I think we're ready to put some color on top of that. We're going with that aqua kind of teal metallic green finish, but it's going to have Wimbledon white between the trim and down the center of the truck. You know, not sure if the roof is white. I'll have to get with the owner on that and check. So we might be going roof white. I'm not sure. Some Raptor liner in the floor of the bed. So you'll see how this kind of progresses. Hopefully by the end of the week we'll have everything painted. As we cycle these parts out, we're just going to try to cut them and buff them as quick as we can, hang the truck back together and let him have it. So in this, it's different for us because we didn't pull the engine, we didn't clean the engine compartment, we didn't clean under the frame, so I'm kind of like, oh, I don't know about all this, but we're doing the best we can do to help him out. So what's going to happen is, hopefully if we can stay good with him on where we're at, kind of in our budget and estimate, we're going to hopefully at least be able to clean up the frame and suspension for him. He's having an engine built, so he's going to take the truck home. He's going to pull the engine out. Once he does that, he'll bring it back. We'll clean up and paint the engine compartment, and then he can slide his new drivetrain right into home. You know what I'm saying? So I think we're starting out pretty good. We're going to see if we can go get some green mixed up, lay down some color, man. This is the best part. Love this shit. Ooh la la, green. All right, we got our SATA RPS cups. Those are really awesome. Little filter that goes right into the lid. Our SATA 5500, those things are amazing. All right, so I'm out, or I don't have a clean lid that normally goes on the mixing booth, where we can just cap it on and have a little quick pour. So here's a little tidbit for you. If you don't want to be spilling paint all over the place, little 2-inch tape around the ring of the can there. All right, so we're using a different brand than we normally use. The owner already had bought the paint, which is expensive, so we don't want to go back and spend a whole bunch more money just to use our brand. Good thing is, I sprayed this brand for about 15 years, so I know it like the back of my hand. Little reducer. Alright, gun. Awesome. And don't forget a little breather cap. Pop that open halfway. Just ready to go. All right, so we've got one coat down. You remember I was telling you we're gonna have Wimbledon white in the middle? There's a few ways you can do that. You could go ahead and mask off where your Wimbledon white's gonna be and just not get any green on there. You could just paint up to the line and let your overspray flow down. But what I like to do, what I think always gets a little bit better result, is to just go ahead and spray the whole thing green. Now, we're wasting a little bit of paint, but we're not wasting a lot of paint. You know, maybe at the end of the day, we shot an extra pint or so, which to me is not a huge deal because we're getting a really consistent, even finish, and it's going to lay out nice and it's all going to be even. What tends to happen, I do see a lot of people where they like to just spray down to it and they'll leave this open. It gets kind of fuzzy and rough because you got your overspray down there, so sometimes you got to go back and rub it out, or do not rub it out. I like to do it this way. I think it just gets a better result. Been doing it that way for a long time, so I would say if you're doing one of these two tones, I'd go ahead and shoot the whole thing, unless you want to mask it up. I'd say, you know, you mask it up, you get a good result too, because you're not going to see those tape lines because you got trim over it. Now coming back to that, you could argue, well, your mill thickness, you're building your mill thickness. Yeah, but I've kind of tested that through the years. It's almost undetectable. I mean, after you get just that couple of coats of white down from here to there, you test it, it's literally almost undetectable. Plus, it's fillered, it's polyestered, it's urethaned, and we've still got a good mill thickness. So, yeah, I'd go with that. All right, so we got one coat down. Coverage is pretty good. The only thing that we could potentially fight with this color a little bit would be any kind of modeling because of the pearls and metallics in it. That coat laid down really good. It's normally this brand. With the BASF, you don't really have to fight anything. But so far it looks good. I don't really think we're going to have too many issues. But if we do run into something, I'll show you guys how to get all that even. But maybe we won't, and I won't have to show you. So I'm going to get two more coats laid down of green. Once I get those two coats laid down, we'll let that tack off. No sense in showing you that. It's already green. Once we get to that white, I'll show you what we're using to mask everything off and get that white laid down. All right, so we got all our green laid down, everything laid out nice, looking good. Nice and even, flat. Okay, also, just so I make sure I cover them all, you could have also laid down the white first. And you still got that little bit of overspray up here, and sometimes you got to rub it off. So anyway, I knew down in the comments somebody would go, hey, you know, you could have done the white first, don't you? Yeah, but I like this way. This is a good way. All right, so what we're going to do now, this whole truck was prepped with Indasa sandpapers, tapes, everything. So also for the fine lines that we use, Indasa. I do that for all the graphics, whether we're doing flames, whatever, these straight two-tones, I'll use a little bit of a wider tape. Just lays down a cleaner line, or a straighter line, I should say, easier to do that. But this line is under the trim, so you don't see it. All we're going to do is follow these holes. That's where the trim actually goes on. But up front right here, the trim comes to a point and it ends before the fender does. So we've got to break that line off into kind of this jam where the grill bolts up. What I will typically do is lay the line where I'm catching the bottom of that hole. That way, if we catch the bottom of the hole, we don't have anywhere for the paint to really escape to and blow out onto our green. Another thing what we could do is lay down a clear base coat that'll protect our green, and then we can go back and sand if we get any on it. But this is pretty straightforward. We're not going to go that far. Whoa! You don't want to listen anymore? You done already? Dang! All right, so we're just going to pull this straight out. Let me get all these pulled. We'll start getting it masked up and lay down some white. All right, so we got those masked. So basically what I did, I went ahead and I masked it up because it's just masking. It's not that much fun. But I spent, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 minutes on each one, got them masked up. But I did it 2 different ways. I've got paper over there, which you can mask with that. That's the old school way to do it. I still like doing it that way. Works really good, it's easy, but now, you know, for the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years, we've had this plastic sheeting where, you know, there's one specific side of it that you can paint, and you can just wrap everything in the plastic and tape it up. So I did it that way just to show you the differences. Time-wise, doing it, not really any different. The only thing I would say would be, and normally this is not going to happen to you, but if you're painting, let's say we paint the white today and I don't know, something happens, you know, something just goes wrong and we don't like it. So we got to wait till tomorrow to keep painting, or we have to sand on it. If we go back and we spray more white on the plastic that's already got white sprayed on it, normally that gets hard on the plastic and it'll blow off everywhere and you'll have a freaking mess. But you know, like I said, normally you don't have to do that. On the other hand, the paper, if you had to do, you're never really going to run into that problem. So, price-wise, paper's probably less expensive. I don't know, I hadn't priced it in a long time, but anyway, there's 2 different ways. We'll see if it makes any difference. It won't. I already know, because I do it all the time. Number 2. Parts turned out pretty good. We'll start rubbing them down, slicking it out. I'm going to start with on this one, since it's not completely crazy show truck, you know. I'm going to probably start with 1,000. We'll work our way up to probably 3,000, so we'll hand block with 1,000. Then maybe hand block again with 1,500 and then swap it over, because once we get it flat with the block, we can swap over to the DA and take it on up to about 3,000, help us buff it a little quicker. So yeah, let's start rubbing. We've got Ben in the place he loves to be, on camera. What do you want to eat, Kim?
Your pick.
Kim? What do you want to eat? It's lunchtime.
Whatever you want to eat. Whatever you want to eat is fine.
What do you want to eat? I guess I'm picking. Alright, so I'm working on the C10. Cabs in the booth. Starting to wet sand some of the parts, the fenders and the doors that we did. But over here, Bob's hopped over here to this 35 Hudson, and we've got the engine. So we're waiting on the flywheel to show up. We've got the trans we're about to mate to it, hopefully get that back into the car and then make some progress. We got some of the wiring, we're starting to tidy some of that up. We're building a gauge cluster for it so we can put the gauges in it. So that's where we're at on the Hudson right now. So hopefully by the end of the week we've made some good progress on it. And we're starting to mock up some door panels. And Ben, over there on the Sunbeam, buffing. Anybody who can tell me what year that car is and what it is gets a free t-shirt. All right, so we got everything sanded on this fender at least. We're just gonna go through this one and just, you know, show you how it's gonna work out without doing every single one of them right now. There's a lot to do, you know what I'm saying? All right, so we've got everything sanded out to about 3,000 grit. What we're gonna start off with, rotary buffer, just a foam pad, that's what we're gonna start with. Got a cutting compound that we're going to use, and hopefully that's enough. We don't have to hop over to a wool pad. I don't really like using a wool pad unless I'm just trying to really hurry things along. So let's see what she does. I tend to start the buffer around 1,800 RPMs or so. All right, so we got the C10 cab in the booth now. Ben has done a little masking, got it masked up for us while I was out there wet sanding that fender. I've got it just about buffed out, so I'm just kind of flip-flopping back and forth. We'll get this shot, get back out there, keep buffing on some parts. So, like I said, all masked up. Got a little bit of seam sealing that I see that we kind of missed. I'm gonna go do that. And then, I guess we can start laying down some color on this cab. This is gonna look really cool. I'm digging that green. At first, you know, greens I'm not big on, but it actually looks really good on the white, so I'm liking that. We're actually not going to do a white top on this one. I thought that's probably the way the owner would go, but when I checked in with him, it's not what we're doing. We're doing all green. So with the doors off and all that, the only thing we're going to have to do white is back here, just kind of around this cab section. We'll break that off in the back. We'll get this shot, get the bed in here, the tailgate, and just some few odd and end parts like hood hinges and stuff like that, and we should be in pretty good shape. All right, so we've got a lot of the parts buffed already, looking really good. Fender's looking, ooh, so nice, so nice. Good and slick, straight. We've also just rolled the cab out of here, so we're gonna do a little cutting and buffing on that. We're gonna do the A-pillars, top of the dash, obviously the roof, we're gonna get that slicked out. So yeah, it's all looking good so far, but in the booth, we've got the bed. Let's see, so what we're gonna do here, obviously the standard green and white like we've been doing, you've seen that. Inside, the owners actually requested to have the sides of the inside of the bed and the tubs all slicked out green, clear coated, so we'll get all that nice cut and buff, but the floor we're gonna do in a Raptor liner. So that should look good, have a nice contrast to it. So yeah, more painting.